I call Laura Kyrke-Smith to make her maiden speech.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for this opportunity to address the House, and may I congratulate you on your successful election. I'm sure the House will want to join me in extending our deepest sympathies to the Honourable Member for Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr for the death of your mother. I'm so sorry and sad to learn of that. And may I congratulate you on a wonderful maiden speech and for speaking with such passion about our children and the potential of the next generation too. I'd like to pay tribute to my predecessor in Aylesbury, Rob Butler, who I know has such affection for Aylesbury and served the constituency with great loyalty and goodwill. And it is a true honour for me to be here as the new member for Aylesbury. Given that my constituency houses the county town of Buckinghamshire and has returned a long line of Conservative members to Parliament, as you might expect from this county, I'm particularly proud to be here as Aylesbury's first ever Labour MP and first female MP. Yeah. My constituency is a very diverse one geographically, from the rapidly growing town of Aylesbury itself to many lovely villages like Whitchurch, Wing, Cheddington and Edlesborough, and the historic woodlands and farmlands and the Chiltern Hills. My constituency also has very diverse communities with people of Christian, Muslim, Hindu and other faiths, and people of Asian, African and Eastern European heritage, living alongside elderly residents and young people whose families have called my constituency home for many generations. We're a historic constituency too. Britain's oldest road, the Ridgeway, crosses through to Ivanhoe Beacon. The remains of an Iron Age hill fort lie beneath Aylesbury town, and an Aylesbury constituency has existed in some form since 1554. It was from Aylesbury that John Hampden defended Parliament against Charles I in 1642, and his statue overlooking Market Square in the town centre still celebrates the parliamentary freedom that he championed. Perhaps I won't dwell on our conservative-leaning political history from then onwards for too long, but I do want to highlight three other ways in which history shapes our brilliant constituency today. First, our vibrant culture. Roald Dahl made Buckinghamshire his home, and today we host the Roald Dahl Children's Gallery at the Discover Bucks Museum. We're the birthplace of the Paralympic movement, host to the first competition for people with spinal injuries in Stoke Mandeville back in 1948. For decades, Aylesbury was home to the iconic Friars nightclub, where acts like Queen and U2 performed. David Bowie's first performance of Ziggy Stardust there is now marked by a bronze sculpture in the town that bursts into song, catching visitors by surprise. Second, my constituency has a history of offering a friendly welcome, including to many evacuees from London in World War II and the exiled Czech government, which operated out of the old manor house between Wingrave and Aston Abbots. You can still see the bus shelter that the Czech president instructed to be built on that road, having taken pity on the local school children waiting in the rain. We've seen the same welcome for many people who have moved into the constituency in recent decades, and particularly into the many new housing developments in the area. Third, I want to highlight the inequalities in income and wealth that exist in the constituency. Members of this House may be surprised to hear that Aylesbury has high levels of deprivation. But in fact, 1 in 8 children in the town live in poverty. And we've always had a history of people struggling to get by on a low wage in the print and car factories in the past or as agricultural labourers. I pay tribute to the local food banks and to fantastic charities like Youth Concern and Aylesbury Homeless Action Group, which make life more manageable for those who are struggling most today. But they shouldn't have to exist. Which takes me to the 4 points that I will prioritise as the member for Aylesbury. And takes me as well to the reason that I wanted to speak in today's debate on education and opportunity, because above all, I want my constituents to feel that sense of opportunity and optimism again. First, I will focus on the desperate need to improve healthcare. We're home to Stoke Mandeville Hospital, where my son was born, and to the internationally renowned Spinal Injuries Unit. I have the deepest respect for everyone who works in the healthcare sector across the constituency, but we've got to make it possible for people to get basic healthcare, to see their GP again. And we've got to tackle the awful and pervasive mental health crisis in my constituency and in the country. One of my most brilliant and best of friends, Sophie Middlemiss, is not here to witness this moment of great change and opportunity for our country, because she took her own life when her little girl was 10 weeks old. I don't want anyone to suffer from postnatal depression and anxiety in the way that she did, and I will fight to get better help for people in her situation. Second, I will focus on education for our children, and I will fight to ensure that all children, whatever their background and circumstances, get the opportunities that they deserve in life. I'm particularly concerned about SEND children, and I'm pleased to have heard a lot about that in the House today, and their parents and families and carers and teachers who aren't getting anything like the support they deserve, and that has to change. Third, I will help our businesses to thrive. I'll support the small businesses that I hope will be part of a revival of Aylesbury Town Centre. We have to make it a safe and attractive place to spend time again, and we have to make it possible to get in and across and out of town without spending hours in traffic. But I will also support the farming businesses in the rural parts of our constituency, within a wider, careful approach to protecting and managing our nature-rich and agricultural lands. Finally, I come to this job very conscious not just of the challenges and the opportunities for my constituency and my country, but also the very challenging moment that we're in globally. Before coming to Parliament, I was leading a humanitarian aid agency, and I will continue to be a voice for and do right by the most vulnerable people around the world. There are record numbers of people caught up in conflict and crisis at a time when geopolitical rivalry is on the rise and the global institutions set up after World War II no longer offer the protections that they used to. A strong and principled Britain can make a real difference in the world. And I know this matters to my constituents, most pressingly in their concerns about the awful suffering in Gaza and the suffering of the Israeli hostages and their families. Let me conclude with one final point. I mentioned that Aylesbury is home to the Roald Dahl Children's Gallery. So I'll end with some inspiration from Matilda, perhaps Roald Dahl's finest character, or certainly that's my daughter's view. Matilda said this: "Having power is not nearly as important as what you choose to do with it." Every day, in this place of power, we all make choices. I will know if I have made the right choices, if people in crisis around the world, and most importantly, people struggling in my constituency, tell me that I have played my part in making a positive difference to their lives. Thank you.
I call